The first light of morning found Highgarden quieter than Jon expected. The castle did not wake with the clamor of a northern keep. It unfurled itself slowly, like a flower opening to sun. Servants padded down corridors on soft saws. The fountains resumed their patient singing. Birds nested in vines stirred and began their calls. Jon Snow sat in a solar with windows that overlooked terraces heavy with dew. The view should have eased him. It did the opposite. Beauty made him wary. Felt like a lure. Between him and Margaery Tyrell lay the egg, wrapped in black cloth like a secret shame. Even hidden, Jon could feel it. Heat faint as breath, a presence in the air that made the hair on his arms rise. Olenna Tyrell did not waste mornings. She sat stiff-backed in a carved chair, cane across her lap, her face sharpened by dawn light and sleeplessness. Parchment and maps littered the table. Raven messages from riverlords, reach bannermen, merchants, and men who wrote in careful hands because their lives depended on being believed. "We have 3 problems," Olenna said, tapping her cane once against the floor as if to call the words to attention. "The first is hatching your little stone. The second is hiding it. The third is ensuring no one realizes the first 2 are connected." Margaery poured a small cup of tea and did not drink it. Her fingers circled the rim instead, steady and restless all at once. "We can hide it," she said. "Highgarden has cellars no one remembers and passages servants use that lords never see." Olenna said, "until someone starts counting. When kings grow desperate, they learn to count. So do maesters, so do septons, so do men who smell power the way dogs smell meat." Jon kept his gaze on the cloth-wrapped shape. "How do you hatch it?" he asked. Olenna's eyes cut to him. "You tell me. You're the one it warmed for." Jon's jaw tightened. "I've never even seen a dragon," he said. "Only bones, in books and stories." Margaery's eyes softened, briefly. "Grandmother," she said, and there was warning there. "He is not a riddle to solve. He is a key," Olenna replied, "and keys do not like being called keys. That does not stop them from opening doors." Jon felt the old familiar frustration flare. Being spoken about as if he weren't in the room, being weighed and used. He forced it down. He had chosen this, or something like choosing. Olenna leaned forward, face close enough that Jon could see the fine lines at the corners of her eyes. "There are men who believe dragons hatch for heat alone," she said. "Fools mostly. There are men who believe they hatch for blood. Fools with sharper knives. There are men who believe they hatch for song. Fools with prettier words." "And what do you believe?" Jon asked. Olenna's mouth twitched. "I believe the world does not give you fire for nothing," she said. "If this egg wakes, it will demand a price. Better we decide what coin we're willing to pay before it reaches into our pockets itself." Margaery's gaze flicked from Olenna to Jon. "We will not use innocence," she said, voice firm. Olenna waved a hand. "I am too old to chase virgins through mazes," she snapped. "I mean coin in the way all power demands coin, risk, reputation, trust, blood perhaps. But your own, if you insist on keeping your conscience clean." Jon felt something cold slide through him, his own blood on the egg, his hand on heat, the way it had seemed to answer him. "How do we begin?" Margaery asked. Olenna's eyes narrowed at the table's clutter. "By making a lie," she said. "We will claim we are restoring an old Valyrian heirloom for display, some decorative nonsense, so no one asks why we need heat and scholars. We will invite a maester to speak of metalwork. We will send for old texts from Old Town and call it curiosity." Margaery frowned. "The Citadel will take interest." "They will anyway," Olenna said. "Better to give them a story to swallow." Jon's mind turned over the pieces. "And if the egg hatches?" Olenna's eyes glittered. "Then the realm learns the Reach and the North have teeth," she said. "And every man with a crown will come to test whether those teeth are real." Margaery reached out and laid her hand over the cloth, palm resting on the hidden shell. Her face was pale in the morning light, but her eyes were clear. "Then we make sure they are," she said. Jon watched her hand, watched the cloth rise faintly as if something beneath shifted toward her warmth. He did not know if he imagined it. He did not know what he was becoming. Outside, the sun climbed higher, gilding the gardens, turning Highgarden's beauty into a promise. Jon had learned promises were often traps. Samwell Tarly had always loved libraries. They smelled of dust and old ink and quiet, things that did not judge him for sweating or stumbling. Highgarden's library, however, felt like stepping into a dragon's hoard, if dragons hoarded words instead of gold. Shelves climbed the walls, carved into oak and marble, filled with scrolls sealed in wax and books bound in leather so fine it seemed cruel. The windows were tall, and sunlight came through them in pale bars that made the dust look like drifting snow. Sam sat hunched at a long table, his fingers stained black from ink. Across from him sat Maester Lomas, Highgarden's aging keeper of letters, whose eyes were sharp despite his tremoring hands. The Maester had been told a lie, one Olenna had crafted with all her skill. A Valyrian heirloom, Lady Olenna had said with a thin smile. Curiosity. The new Lord Consort from the North wishes to understand it. A harmless vanity. Maesters loved harmless vanity. It made lords easy. Maester Lomas licked a finger and turned a page filled with elegant, slanting characters. Old Valyrian is not meant to be read by men who hope it will behave, he muttered. It bites, twists, it makes mockery of certainty.
Sam swallowed.
Does it speak of eggs? He asked, forcing the word out carefully, as if it might shatter the lie. Maester Lomas's eyes flicked to him. You are curious, he said, for a northern retainer.
Sam's cheeks flushed.
He hated lying, but he had promised Jon. He had promised because he understood the stakes better than anyone south of the wall. Fire was dangerous, so was ice. When two dangers found each other, the world changed. I am curious about Valyria, Sam managed. I read what I can. Maester Lomas made a sound halfway between approval and contempt. Valyria was a wound in the world, he said. Men think it romantic because it is dead. Dead things are always romantic to those who do not smell them. He tapped a page. Here, an account of Targaryen hatchings. It is vague, of course, because the men who wrote it were either priests or courtiers, and both groups prefer mystery to truth. Sam leaned forward, breath held. The script was dense, interspersed with drawings. Spirals like coiled smoke, a child holding something round, a flame rising around it. Sam's heart pounded. Maester Lomas's voice dropped. Heat, he read. Song, blood, salt, stone. The words change with each retelling. Blood, Sam echoed quietly. Maester Lomas glanced up. A word that makes men greedy, he said. If you tell a fool blood is needed, he will spill it until the world is red and call himself wise. Perhaps it means something else. Bloodline, heritage, the blood of the dragon. He stopped, frowning, as if he realized he'd wandered too close to something dangerous.
Sam's throat tightened.
Bloodline, heritage, the blood of the dragon. He thought of Jon's face when the egg had warmed, how Jon had looked as if he were hearing a name spoken in a language he did not know he understood. Sam forced himself to keep his voice calm. Is there anything more practical? He asked. Maester Lomas snorted. Practical. Dragons, he said as if the two words were enemies. The most practical note I can offer is this. If it is an egg, and it is truly what the songs say, it will not be rushed. Dragons do not hatch because men wish it. They hatch because something inside decides the world is worth burning. Sam stared at the drawings. In the candlelight, the ink seemed to shimmer. He imagined the shell cracking, imagined something small and hungry and hot crawling into the world. Maester Lomas pushed the scroll toward him, then leaned back with a sigh. Take what you wish, he said. Copy what you can. Tell your lord to keep his curiosity private. Sam nodded, grateful and terrified. Thank you, Maester. As he dipped his quill and began to copy the lines about heat and blood and song, Sam felt the quiet of the library press around him like snow. Outside, Highgarden's fountains sang. Inside, words from dead Valyria whispered their warnings into living hands. The first attempt was almost disappointingly simple. They chose a chamber beneath Highgarden that Olenna swore no servant used. A place with a single narrow vent that breathed air like a reluctant mouth. They carried the egg there wrapped in cloth, as if carrying a newborn through streets that wanted to steal it. A brazier was lit, coals piled high and coaxed into glowing life. Warm sand was spread in a shallow basin. The egg settled into it like a stone in a riverbed. Margaery stood with a lantern and a knife she had taken from her own chamber, small, sharp, meant for fruit but capable of more. Olenna sat in the corner, half shadow, her face unreadable. Jon knelt close enough that heat licked his cheeks. Sweat gathered at his temples, and the air tasted of iron and smoke. The egg's shell drank warmth, held it, seemed to deepen in color by a fraction, as if remembering what it used to be. He waited. Minutes became hours. The coals hissed and shifted. The vent breathed. Margaery's lantern guttered once, and she steadied it with a hand that did not shake. Jon pressed his palm lightly to the shell. Warm. Always warm now. Always aware. It was not like holding a stone. It was like holding a sleeping animal. Still, but alive beneath stillness. Anything? Margaery asked at last, voice quiet. Jon swallowed. No, he admitted. Olenna made a small sound of irritation. Of course not, she said. If it were that easy, every fool in Westeros would have a dragon by now and the world would be ash. Margaery's eyes stayed on the egg. It's responding, she said softly. It is. I can see it. Jon followed her gaze. The veins along the shell, those deep red-black streaks, seemed slightly more pronounced. Not glowing, not cracking, but present in a way they had not been in the coffer. Jon wanted to believe it meant something. He wanted to believe this was not madness dressed in hope. He leaned closer, listening. At first, he heard only coals and breath and the faint drip of moisture somewhere beyond the vent. Then, so faint he thought he imagined it, he heard a sound like the smallest sigh, a whisper that might have been shell shifting against sand. His heart thudded. Margaery saw it in his face. You heard, she whispered. Jon nodded once. Olenna leaned forward slightly, her eyes suddenly sharp. Again, she commanded. Touch it again. Jon set both hands on the egg. The shell was hot enough now that it should have burned him, yet it did not. The heat sank into him instead, not painful but intimate, as if it recognized his skin. For a moment, the chamber seemed to shrink. Jon's breath slowed. He felt something in his chest answer the heat, something old and wordless, like a memory he had never lived. He thought of flame. He thought of wings. The egg's veins darkened, and for a heartbeat, very faintly, a dull red pulse traveled beneath the shell as if blood moved under skin. Margaery's breath caught. Her knife gleamed in lantern light, forgotten in her hand. Olenna's lips parted, and for the first time Jon saw something like awe crack her hard expression. Well, she whispered, as if speaking to herself. It does have a heart. Jon pulled his hands back, pulse racing. The shell's heat remained steady and stubborn. It won't hatch like this, Jon said hoarsely. Not soon. Margaery's eyes did not leave the egg. Then we find what it needs, she said. Olenna's cane tapped once. And we do it before someone else realizes we're trying, she said. Because if anyone smells this, they will come with prayers or chains. Jon looked at the egg. It sat in warm sand like a promise that could become a threat in the space of a breath. Somewhere far away, a raven would be flying. Somewhere, a maester might be counting. Somewhere, a lioness might be sharpening her claws. In the hidden chamber beneath Highgarden, the coals burned down to ash, and the egg remained unbroken, warm as a living thing, stubborn as a secret. Highgarden's training yard was too bright. Sunlight poured over pale stone walls and made the sand glitter like ground glass. Knights moved in measured patterns. Practice swords clacking, shields thumping, laughter drifting between blows. It looked almost peaceful. Jon knew better. Men who practiced killing were never peaceful. They were simply patient. Ser Loras Tyrell approached Jon with a practiced sword in hand, and the expression of a man who had decided courtesy was a waste. He did not bow. "My sister believes you are honorable," Loras said, voice low enough that only Jon could hear. "My grandmother believes you are useful. I believe you are a stranger who has walked into my home with a wolf at his heel and a crown hovering over his head." Jon took the practiced sword offered by a squire. The wood felt light compared to steel, but he held it with the same care. "You don't have to believe anything," Jon said. "I didn't come to be liked." Loras's eyes flashed. "No," he said. "You came to be married." Jon's grip tightened. "That too." Loras stepped closer, raising his sword. "Then show me what my sister has bought," he said. The first strike came fast. Loras was quick, as famed as the song said, his movements precise and fluid. Jon met the blow wood on wood, feeling the shock run up his arms. He pivoted, answered, pressed. Loras danced back, smiling faintly as if pleased to find Jon could keep up. They circled. The yard noise faded for Jon into background hum. He watched Loras's shoulders, his hips, the way his feet shifted before a feint. Jon had learned to read men in battle and in snow. Loras moved like spring, beautiful, dangerous, unpredictable. "You think you can protect her?" Loras asked between blows. Jon parried, stepped in, forced Loras back a half step. "I will," Jon said. "That is not an answer," Loras snapped, and his next strike came low, aimed at Jon's knees. Jon jumped, twisting, then brought his sword down hard, catching Loras's weapon and locking it. Their faces were close, breath hot in the sun. Loras's eyes were bright with anger. "She smiles and men obey," he said. "They call her gentle. They call her kind. They do not see what she carries. If you bring death to her door, if you wake something you cannot control." Jon's heart thudded. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. Loras's jaw worked, and for a moment Jon thought he saw fear behind the anger. Then Loras shoved back, breaking the lock, and his expression smoothed into cold contempt. "Do not play innocent," he said. "Men whisper, men watch. You came from the wall with ice in your eyes and a beast no one can tame. Now you walk the gardens at night like you own them." Jon's mouth tightened. So, they were being watched. Of course they were. "I walk," Jon said evenly, "because I refuse to be kept in a cage." Loras barked a humorless laugh. "The realm is a cage," he said, "and if you are foolish, you will drag my sister into the smallest, darkest corner of it." Jon's patience snapped. He stepped forward, driving Loras back with 3 quick blows. Loras blocked the first, the second, but the third struck his shoulder hard enough to make him stumble. A hush rippled through the yard. Tyrell knights stared. Somewhere above, on a balcony, Margaery Tyrell stood watching, her face carefully controlled, her hands clasped tight. Loras straightened slowly, eyes narrowed. "You have strength," he admitted grudgingly. "But strength is not wisdom." Jon lowered his practiced sword. His voice was quiet, but it carried. "Then be wise enough to see this," he said. "I did not come to hurt her. I came because war forced me. If you want to protect your sister, don't waste your breath trying to frighten me. Help me keep her alive." For a heartbeat, Loras looked as if he might strike again out of pride alone. Then he exhaled sharply, as if swallowing something bitter. "I will protect her," Loras said. "Even from you, if I must." Jon met his gaze and did not flinch. "Then watch," Jon said, "and learn whether I am worth your suspicion." Above them, Margaery's eyes held Jon's for an instant. There was no smile then, only understanding and warning and something like gratitude. The sun blazed overhead, and the yard resumed its noise, but the air between Jon and Loras remained taut as a drawn bowstring. The Raven came first. The envoy arrived the next day. Highgarden's great hall filled as if summoned by instinct. Lords and ladies in green and gold, knights in polished armor, servants pressed into corners like shadows. Smiles bloomed like flowers, too bright to be trusted. Whispering moved through the crowd in soft waves. Jon stood behind Margaery's chair with Longclaw at his side, feeling every ice slide over him. He hated being behind anyone. On the wall, you watched your own back. Here, you were expected to stand like decoration while words did the killing. The doors opened. A man strode in with the confidence of someone who believed the world belonged to his family. Ser Adam Marbrand, Jon recognized from Robb's counsels and captured talk. He wore crimson and gold, a lion brooch at his throat, and his cloak fell like blood across the pale stone floor. He bowed with careful respect. "Lady Margaery Tyrell," he said, voice smooth. "Lady Olenna. Highgarden's beauty is as famed as its wisdom." Olenna's smile was thin enough to cut. "Flattery from a lion," she replied. "What a rare treat. Speak your piece, Ser Adam. My ears are old and my patience older." Ser Adam's gaze flicked, just once, to Jon. His mouth did not change, but Jon saw the calculation in the man's eyes. He saw the moment the envoy realized the Reach's garden held a wolf. "The Iron Throne sends greetings," Ser Adam said. "His Grace King Joffrey Baratheon." A few Tyrell courtiers shifted at the name. Jon's jaw tightened. "And the Queen Regent, Cersei of House Lannister," Ser Adam continued, "expressed their sincere hope that House Tyrell remains steadfast in its duty to the realm." Olenna made a soft, mocking sound. "Duty," she echoed. "Is that what you call it when lions demand roses bloom where they point?" Ser Adam's smile did not slip. "We call it unity," he said, "and we call it protection. King's Landing has heard troubling whispers that Highgarden has turned from the Iron Throne, that Lady Margaery has chosen another path." Margaery's posture was perfect, her hands folded in her lap. "Highgarden has chosen peace," she said, "and the end of bloodshed. If King's Landing wishes to join us in that, we welcome it."
Se Adams Gaza Sharpanat.
"Peace is best secured by loyalty," he said. The crown had once hoped to honor House Tyrell with a match, Lady Margaery to his grace. Such a union would end conflict and reward House Tyrell's devotion. Olenna leaned back. "Once hoped," she repeated. "How poetic. And now?" Ser Adam's voice remained smooth, but steel crept into it. "Now," he said, "the crown hears Lady Margaery has wed Jon Snow, now styled Jon Stark, by rebel decree." A hush fell. Even the torches seemed to flicker more quietly. Jon felt the room's attention tighten around him like a noose. He held still. Margaery lifted her chin. "I have wed," she said calmly. "That is not rumor. That is fact. Highgarden is not a maiden to be promised and reclaimed at a king's whim." Ser Adam's smile became brittle. "The crown will not look kindly on insult," he said. Olenna's eyes glittered. "The crown," she said, "can look wherever it likes. It is still just a hat. Hats do not frighten me." A few nervous laughs trembled through the hall, quickly swallowed. Ser Adam's gaze moved to Jon again, more openly now. "And what does Jon Stark say?" he asked. "Does the wolf speak, or only bite?" Jon stepped forward a half step, enough that his presence became undeniable. "I say the North does not kneel to a boy king who tortures men for sport," Jon said, voice low and steady. "And I say the Reach will not starve because King's Landing thinks it can command wheat like soldiers." Murmurs, some shocked, some approving. Ser Adam's eyes narrowed. "Bold words," he said, "for a man whose birth is questionable." Jon's stomach tightened. "Bastard. Always the knife." Margaery's voice cut through, bright and sharp. "Ser Adam," she said, "your purpose is clear. You came to threaten. Highgarden does not respond well to threats. We respond to bargains." Ser Adam's gaze held hers. "Then bargain," he said. Olenna smiled, sudden and cruel. "Very well," she said. "Tell your Queen Regent that Highgarden will continue to feed the realm, because we do not punish small folk for their ruler's sins. Tell her we will pray for King Joffrey's wisdom, because he needs it. And tell her if lions come to pluck roses with swords, they will find thorns." Ser Adam bowed again. his politeness now edged with insult. "I will deliver your message," he said, "and I will remind you, Lady Olenna, that thorns can be burned." Olenna's smile did not fade. "So can lions," she replied. When Ser Adam turned and strode out, the hall exhaled as one. But the relief was thin. Jon could feel it. Everyone in that room knew what had just happened. The Iron Throne had been told no, and no was a word kings punished. The Red Priest arrived in the quiet hours, when Highgarden's corridors held only sleepers and rats. Olenna brought him through a servant's stair that smelled of wine and damp stone, down into a cellar where barrels lined the walls like silent soldiers. Torches burned low, their light making the air look thick. The priest's robe was scarlet, too vivid for the dark, and he wore a copper necklace that caught flame and threw it back. His name was Ryllon. He spoke the common tongue with an accent that turned certain words into softer things, like heat shaping metal. "Lady Olenna Tyrell," Ryllon said, bowing his head just enough to be polite, not enough to be humble. "The roses of Westeros are famed even in Volantis." Olenna's cane tapped once. "Save your poetry," she said. "I didn't drag you across half a continent to admire my flowers." Ryllon's eyes were dark, reflective, as if fire lived behind them. "You dragged me," he said, "because you have a question only flame can answer." Margaery stepped from the shadows. She had covered her hair with a dark veil and wore plain cloth instead of silk, as if trying to strip herself down to her most honest self. Jon stood with her, half hidden by barrels, his presence a weight in the cellar air. Ryllon's gaze slid to Jon and paused, the way a man paused when he saw something he did not expect. "And you have brought me the answer too," he murmured. Jon's skin prickled. "What do you mean?" he asked. Ryllon smiled, faint. "Some fires recognize their own," he said. Olenna's mouth tightened. "Less riddles," she snapped. "More usefulness." Ryllon spread his hands. In one palm, a flame sparked, small, bright, unnatural in the damp cellar. It danced without wick or oil, as if it fed on his skin. Margaery's breath caught, but she did not step back. "Dragons," Ryllon said quietly, and the word itself seemed to warm the air. "I have seen their shadows in temples. I have heard their names sung in prayers that make men weep. In my city, they believe the world was forged in fire and will be remade in fire when the time comes." Olenna's eyes narrowed. "And do you believe that?" she asked. Ryllon's flame flickered. "I believe fire is truth," he said. "Truth hurts. That is why men fear it." Margaery's voice was steady. "We need an egg to hatch," she said. "We need to know what it requires. Not legends, not sermons. What does it need?" Ryllon's gaze moved between them, lingering on Jon's face. "Heat," he said, "and hunger, and a door." Olenna leaned forward. "A door," she repeated. "A threshold," Ryllon corrected. "An egg is a gate. Something on one side, something on the other. You can bake it for 100 years, and it will remain stone if the gate does not open." "And what opens it?" Jon asked, voice rough. Ryllon's eyes glinted. "Blood opens many gates," he said. "So does sacrifice." Margaery's jaw tightened. "We will not burn a child," she said, cold and absolute. Ryllon's smile faded. "It is always the innocent who burn first when men grow desperate," he said, almost gently. "I did not say it must be a child. I said sacrifice. Sacrifice is simply giving something you do not wish to give." Jon felt the words settle like ash in his lungs. He thought of the wall again, of men giving their lives for a realm that forgot them. Sacrifice. Olenna's cane scraped against stone as she shifted. "If we are to pay," she said, "we choose the coin." Ryllon tilted his head. "Then offer yourselves," he said. "Offer your blood. Offer your truth. Fire loves truth. It devours lies." Margaery's eyes flicked to Jon. In them, Jon saw fear. Not of the priest, not of flame, but of what truth might mean. Jon's voice came out quiet. "If it requires my blood," he said, "then it will have it." Margaery's hand clenched at her side. Jon. Olenna cut in. We will try, she said sharply, as if slamming a door on the emotion threatening to spill. You will tell us how. Ryllon's flame brightened. Bring the egg to fire that can roar, he said. Not coals in a bowl. Furnace. A forge. A place where men sweat and iron screams. Let it hear the world's hunger. And blood? Olenna asked. Ryllon's gaze returned to Jon. A drop, he said, or a flood if you are foolish. Begin with a drop. Margaery lifted her chin, swallowing whatever fear she carried. Then we do it tonight, she said. Ryllon bowed his head. Tonight, he agreed. And may the Lord of Light show you whether you are making a dragon or waking a doom. The forge stank of sweat and iron and smoke, a smell Jon understood better than roses. Olenna had chosen an old smithy tucked deep beneath Highgarden, a place used now only for repairs and the occasional hush-hush work that lords preferred not to mention. Its furnace was larger than the brazier they'd tried, an iron mouth that swallowed coal and breathed flame. When it roared, the stones themselves seemed to vibrate. They came after midnight, cloaked, lanterns shuddered. 2 trusted guards stood outside the passage, men Olenna had chosen because their loyalties were bought with more than coin. Inside, Ryllon stood near the furnace, his scarlet robe vivid against soot-black stone. Margaery's cheeks shone with heat, her hair pulled back tightly. There was no courtly softness in her now. She looked like a woman bracing for battle. The egg sat in a shallow bed of ash near the furnace's mouth, close enough that heat shimmered above it in waves. Jon could feel the warmth against his face like a hand pushing him forward. Ryllon murmured words Jon did not understand, sounds that rolled like embers. He held his hands over the egg as if blessing it with flame. Now, Olenna said, voice sharp in the roar. Before I decide, this is a fool's prayer. Jon took the small knife Margaery offered him. It was hers, fine steel, clean edge, the sort of blade meant for cutting ribbon or fruit. In Jon's hand, it felt like a promise. He looked at Margaery. Her eyes did not waver. Her mouth was set, but her gaze held something softer beneath the steel. Fear for him, perhaps, and a strange, fierce pride. Jon turned his palm up and drew the blade across it. Pain bloomed bright and immediate. Blood welled, dark in firelight. Jon clenched his teeth, but he did not curse. He had bled before. This blood, however, felt different, as if each drop carried a name he did not yet know. He held his hand over the egg. The first drop struck the shell and sizzled. A thin curl of smoke rose, not from fire, not from ash, but from the shell itself, as if the egg drank his blood and exhaled. Margaery sucked in a breath. Olenna's grip tightened on her cane. Jon let a second drop fall. The egg's veins, those deep red-black lines, flared, suddenly brighter, like embers catching wind. Jon's pulse hammered. He could feel the egg now as more than heat. It was presence, hunger, a pressing awareness that pushed back against his hand. Ryllon's chanting grew louder, the words rolling through the forge like a drumbeat. He raised his hands toward the furnace flame, then toward the egg, as if drawing fire from one to feed the other. Open, he whispered, and though Jon did not know the language, he understood the command. The egg shuddered. Not much, just a faint tremor that made ash shift around it. But it was real. Margaery made a small sound, half laugh, half sob. Olenna's face went still, as if she feared blinking might undo it. Ryllon's voice dropped to a reverent whisper. It hears you, he said. It knows you. Jon's throat tightened. The fracture did not widen. The egg did not split open, but it had broken finally after a century of silence. Jon drew his hand back, blood smeared across the shell like a mark. He looked at Margaery, at her face lit by fire and hope, and he felt something settle between them, something deeper than bargain. We did that, she whispered. Jon nodded, voice raw. We did. Outside the forge, Highgarden slept in perfumed peace, unaware that beneath its stone, fire had begun to awaken. They carried the egg back like a wounded king, Olenna insisted on it, no servants, no extra hands. Jon cradled it against his chest, wrapped in cloth and padded with wool, feeling its warmth seep through layers as if it wished to be close to skin. The crack in the shell felt like a secret mouth, barely open, tasting air for the first time. Margaery led them through passages that avoided guards and eyes. Her bare feet made no sound on stone. Her breathing was controlled, but Jon could see the tremble in her throat when she swallowed, the way her fingers flexed as if still feeling heat. In her bedchamber, the world was softer. Candlelight instead of torch glare, woven rugs instead of stone, the faint scent of lavender and rose oil clinging to tapestries. Yet the softness did not soothe Jon. It made the danger feel sharper. Fire did not belong in silk rooms. They set the egg in a cradle Margaery had prepared. An old padded basket lined with wool and feathers, placed near the hearth where embers glowed low. The crack was visible now, a pale line across the dark shell like a scar. Margaery stared at it as if afraid it might vanish. "It's real," she whispered. Jon wrapped his wounded hand with cloth, the cut throbbing. "It's real," he agreed. Olenna sat in a chair by the window, cane across her lap. She looked tired for the first time since Jon had met her, tired and fiercely alive. "Real enough to get us all killed," she said almost fondly. "If we're careless." Margaery's eyes flashed. "We won't be," she said. Olenna's gaze slid to Jon. "You," she said sharply. "If you feel anything, if it calls to you, tell us. Don't be a martyr. Martyrs make poor rulers." Jon's jaw tightened. "I'm not trying to rule," he said. Olenna's smile was thin. "No one ever is," she said. "Until they are." She rose, joints creaking, and moved toward the door. "Sleep," she ordered them both. "Or at least pretend. Tomorrow we speak to no one of this. If anyone asks, you were up late because your husband is northern and doesn't understand our proper hours." Margaery almost smiled. "Yes, grandmother." When Olenna left, the room felt suddenly quieter. The crackle of the hearth sounded too loud. The egg's warmth seemed to fill the space, a living thing breathing in wool. Margaery turned to Jon. In candlelight, her face looked softer, stripped of court and battle. Yet her eyes were bright and fierce. "You bled," she said quietly, and her hand lifted, hovering near the bandage on his palm. Not touching yet, as if she feared hurting him. "It's nothing," Jon said, though the ache in his hand argued. "It's not nothing," Margaery replied, and there was steel in her voice. "You gave it something it wanted." Jon swallowed. "I didn't know what else to give." Margaery's fingers touched the bandage lightly, a ghost of a caress. "You could have refused," she whispered. Jon looked at the egg, then back at her. "If it hatches," he said slowly, "it changes everything." Margaery's smile was small and tired. "Everything is already changing," she said. "At least this is change we can hold." Jon's throat tightened. He thought of Ned Stark again, of truths swallowed, of burdens carried alone. He thought of Robb wearing a crown and bleeding for it. He thought of the wall and the cold eyes beyond it. And he thought of the warmth in that egg responding to him like recognition. Margaery stepped closer. "What are you?" she asked softly, not accusing, not demanding. Simply asking as a woman bound to him now, as a partner who had put her hands on his secrets and refused to flinch. Jon's breath hitched. "I don't know," he admitted. Margaery studied his face as if memorizing it. "Then we find out," she said. Outside the window, Highgarden's gardens lay dark, a sleeping sea of roses. Inside, Fire sat in a cradle, cracked and dreaming. Jon reached up with his uninjured hand and brushed a strand of hair from Margaery's cheek. The touch felt strange, gentle, human, dangerous in its tenderness. Margaery leaned into it for a heartbeat, eyes closing briefly as if allowing herself a moment of softness. Then she opened them and looked at the egg again, and Jon saw the queen in her returning, calculating, determined. "We keep it alive," she whispered, "no matter what comes." Jon nodded, and in that nod lay a vow older than any spoken in Seps. Rumors did not need truth to breed. The day after the envoy left, Highgarden's corridors filled with whispers like gnats. People spoke of the Iron Throne's anger, of Reach bannermen who might waver, of northern wolves bringing winter into rose gardens. Servants repeated half-heard phrases until they became new stories. Courtiers watched Margaery's face for cracks, watched Jon's hands for blood. Maester Lomas moved through it all with his head lowered and his mouth tight. He carried a locked chest filled with scrolls and copied passages. Harmless, Olenna had said. Curiosity, a lord's vanity. But maesters were not fools. Not all of them. Curiosity had patterns, and this curiosity had teeth. Samwell Tarly followed at a careful distance, hood up, trying to look like he belonged. He did not. His shoulders were too hunched, his steps too cautious, as if he expected every stone to mock him. Yet he forced himself onward because he had copied the lines, and he had seen the maester's eyes sharpen each time he read the words dragon and blood. At an archway near the rookery, Sam paused. Ravens cawed behind iron bars, restless. A young servant boy carried feed, glancing around as if fearful of being seen. Two maidservants whispered near a door, their hands fluttering like nervous birds. The northern wolf, one murmured. She was in the gardens at night. Lady Olenna sent for books from Old Town. The other breathed. Why would she?
Sames stamak natit.
Maester Lomas stopped near a window and turned, as if suddenly sensing Sam's shadow. His eyes fixed on Sam beneath the hood. You, he said, voice quiet. You were at the wall. Sam's throat went dry. Yes, he managed. I traveled with Jon, Lord Jon. Maester Lomas's mouth tightened. Men at the wall speak of odd things, he said. Cold that burns, dead men that walk, and dragons, in their foolish stories to frighten recruits. Sam forced himself to breathe. They speak of many things, he said carefully. Maester Lomas stepped closer, the scroll chest held tight. And now, he murmured, my lady asks me for Valyrian accounts. She asks for hatchings and rites and old words. She claims it is for a relic to impress her new lord husband. His gaze sharpened. Is your lord husband impressed? Sam's heart pounded so hard he thought the maester might hear it. Lord Jon is not easily impressed, Sam said, trying to sound like a simple truth. Maester Lomas's eyes narrowed. No, he agreed. He is not. For a moment, Sam thought the maester might ask directly, might speak the forbidden word out loud. Instead, Maester Lomas glanced toward the rookery, toward the ravens behind iron bars, toward messages that could fly faster than secrets could run. Be careful, Maester Lomas said quietly. Highgarden is full of gardens, and gardens are full of snakes.
Sam swallowed.
Are you threatening me? He asked, voice thin. Maester Lomas's gaze was tired. No, he said. I am warning you, because I do not know what your lady is doing. But I know this. If the Citadel thinks you are waking Valyria's ashes, men will come. Not with swords at first, with questions, with ink, with chains made of courtesy. He paused, then added softer. And if the faith believes you are bringing dragons back, they will come with torches. Sam's mouth went dry. He thought of the crack in the egg's shell, pale as bone. He imagined torches licking it, imagined the fire dying before it truly lived. I will tell Lord Jon, Sam whispered. Maester Lomas nodded once, then turned away, moving down the corridor with the locked chest like a burden. Sam stood beneath the archway, listening to ravens caw and servants whisper, and felt the walls of Highgarden tighten around him. In the rookery, a raven beat its wings against iron bars as if it could feel danger coming and wished to fly away from it. The first attempt to steal the egg came 2 nights later. Jon woke to Ghost's low growl, the sound vibrating through the bedchamber like thunder under skin. Candlelight flickered strangely, not steady as it should have been. Jon's eyes snapped open. There, movement near the hearth. A figure in dark cloth, face half covered, stood hunched over the padded cradle where the egg rested. A gloved hand reached toward it, quick and careful, as if trying not to wake a sleeping child. Jon's body moved before thought. He rolled from the bed, bare feet hitting the rug without sound, his hand closing around Longclaw's hilt. Steel hissed free. Margaery sat up sharply, hair loose, eyes wide and instantly clear. She did not scream. Her hand darted to the dagger she kept by her bedside. Pretty silver handle, sharp blade. Ghost launched. The direwolf crossed the room in a blur of white, teeth bared, red eyes burning. The thief jerked back, startled, and Ghost's jaws snapped shut inches from his arm. The man cursed, a harsh breath of sound, and swung something. An iron bar, perhaps, or a short club. It caught Ghost's shoulder with a dull thud. Ghost yelped, not in fear but in fury, and lunged again. Jon surged forward. "Leave it!" he snarled, voice rough with waking rage. The thief's eyes flashed in candlelight, dark, frantic. He grabbed for the egg again, fingers brushing the shell. The egg pulsed. Jon saw it, saw the crack across the shell glow faintly, a dull red light like embers under ash. The room seemed to warm by a breath. The candles flickered as if a wind had moved through them, though the windows were shut. Margaery's breath hitched. "Jon, back!" Jon ordered her without looking, because he could not afford to split his focus. He stepped between the thief and the bed, Longclaw raised. The thief shifted, realizing he would not reach the egg. He turned as if to run, then lunged instead, desperate, swinging his club at Jon's head. Jon parried. Steel rang against iron. Sparks flew, tiny bright stars in the candlelit room. The force jarred Jon's arm, but he stepped in, slamming his shoulder into the man's chest and driving him back into a table. Candles toppled, wax splattered, flame licked at a tapestry edge. Margaery moved fast, snatching a fallen candle and stamping it out with her bare foot, then spinning toward the tapestry with a wet cloth from the wash basin. Her face was pale with anger, not fear. Ghost snarled and snapped at the thief's legs, keeping him pinned between wolf and steel. The thief tried to shove Ghost away. Ghost's teeth closed on his forearm. Blood bloomed dark on the man's sleeve. He cried out, pain ripping through his restraint. Jon's eyes narrowed. "Who sent you?" he demanded. The thief spat, blood and saliva hitting the floor. "You don't understand," he hissed. "It cannot be allowed." Jon's grip tightened. "Who?" he repeated, voice like ice. The thief's eyes flicked to the egg, to the faint glow in its crack, and terror flashed across his face like lightning. "Old Town," he rasped, and whether it was truth or lie Jon could not tell. "The chain," Ghost growled deeper. Jon did not wait. He drove the flat of Longclaw into the thief's temple with brutal precision. The man collapsed, limp, breathing but unconscious. Silence rushed in, heavy and panting. Ghost stood over the fallen man, hackles raised, blood on his teeth. Jon's chest heaved. Margaery held her dagger still, her knuckles white. The tapestry smoldered where flame had kissed it. Margaery stomped the last sparks out, then turned toward the egg. The glow along the crack faded slowly, like a heartbeat calming. Jon approached the cradle, breath held. The egg sat in its padding, intact, but the crack had widened just slightly. A thin line, longer now, as if the shell had shifted during the struggle. Margaery's hand trembled as she reached toward it, then stopped herself, fingers hovering. "It reacted," she whispered. Jon's throat was tight. "It heard," he said. Behind them, the thief lay unconscious, his arm bleeding where Ghost had bitten him. Jon stared at the man's dark cloth, his covered face, and felt cold settle beneath the heat in his chest. Old Town, the chain, maesters, or perhaps someone using those names to frighten them. Margaery looked up at Jon, her eyes fierce. "We are not safe," she said. Jon nodded slowly, eyes hardening. "No," he agreed. "We are not." Ghost nudged Jon's leg once, a silent insistence that Jon look at the egg again, as if the wolf, too, understood what was waking. Outside, Highgarden slept under roses and moonlight, unaware that its shadows had begun to bite. Inside, in a chamber that smelled faintly of smoke and blood, the crack in the dragon egg waited like a smile beginning to form. Dawn came with the smell of smoke still clinging to the bedchamber drapes. Jon Snow stood over the unconscious thief as servants scrubbed wax from the floor and replaced toppled candles with new ones, their hands shaking as they tried not to look at the white wolf watching them. The man lay bound in rope on a rug near the hearth, wrists tied behind his back, ankles crossed and knotted. A bruised lump swelled at his temple where Longclaw's flat had struck him. His forearm was wrapped in rough cloth to slow the bleeding from Ghost's bite. Margaery had dismissed the entire household from the corridor with a single look. She had not raised her voice. She had not needed to. The servants fled as if chased by lions. Now only 3 others remained. Ser Loras Tyrell, standing with arms folded and jaw clenched. Olenna Tyrell seated by the window like a small, sharp statue, and Samwell Tarly hovering near the door with a bucket and cloth, pale as milk. The egg sat in its padded cradle beside the hearth, draped with a blanket as if it could be tucked into sleep again. Jon could feel it anyway, a warmth that seemed to throb in time with his heartbeat. The crack across its shell had widened by the width of a fingernail. Olenna watched the bound man with eyes that had seen too many men beg. "Wake him," she said.
Jon nodded to Sam.
Sam swallowed and stepped forward, splashing cold water onto the thief's face. The man jerked awake with a choking gasp, eyes darting wildly. When he saw Ghost's red gaze fixed on him, he froze. "Do not," Loras said quietly, and it was not a request. "Do not even think of it." The man's breath came fast. His gaze flicked to Jon, then Margaery, then Olenna. He licked his lips, tasting fear. Jon crouched beside him. He kept his voice low. "Who sent you?" The man's throat worked. "I told you," he rasped, voice hoarse from the blow. "Old Town." Olenna made a small sound of contempt. "Old Town sends chains and ink, not burglars," she said. "Try again." The thief's eyes narrowed, stubbornness warring with terror. "You don't know what you're doing," he hissed. "It's cursed. It's..." Jon's hand shot out, gripping the man's chin and forcing his face toward him. "Who?" Jon repeated, each word a blade. The thief's eyes watered. "A man," he spat. "A merchant. He had rings. He said the Citadel would pay. But..." "Names?" Olenna snapped. "If you want to keep your tongue." The thief shook his head, the rope biting into his wrists. "I don't know his name," he said, and the lie came too quickly. Loras stepped forward, dropping to one knee with the smooth ease of a knight who had interrogated in battle camps. He pulled a small dagger from his belt and set its point lightly against the thief's uninjured forearm. The touch was almost gentle. "You will tell us," Loras said, voice soft as silk. "Or you will bleed until your heart grows tired of trying." Margaery's gaze flashed at her brother. "Loras." Loras did not look away. "You want truth," he said. "This is how men with knives get it." Jon's stomach tightened. He had taken life. He had cut men down in the cold. But this was a different kind of killing, slower and uglier. Still, the egg's warmth at his back felt like a reminder. If they failed here, someone else would decide the price for them. Jon reached into the thief's tunic and tore away the cloth at his collar. Something fell out and clinked against the floor. A small bronze token stamped with a ship and a stylized rose. Olenna's eyes narrowed. "A merchant's mark," she murmured. "Not Old Town's." Sam leaned forward, squinting. I've seen those," he whispered, and his voice shook. "In the docks at Old Town. They trade in rare books, curiosities. The sort that should never be curious," Olenna finished. Jon held the token up to the light. The rose was not Tyrell. Its petals were sharper, almost thorned. A different house, a different port, a different set of hands. Margaery's voice was cold. "Someone is buying secrets," she said. The thief's eyes flicked to the token and gave him away. He had not expected it to be found. Loras pressed the dagger point harder. A bead of blood welled. "All right," the man whispered, breath breaking. All right, a man in Bitterbridge. He wears a chain of copper links and a ring with a glass candle carved on it. He said the Reach would burn if the beast lived. He said he was saving us. Olenna's mouth twisted. Saving, she echoed. Men always say that when they are stealing. Jon's mind turned. Bitterbridge, trade roads, a place where ravens passed, where coin moved faster than armies. Did he mention the Lannisters? Jon asked. The thief swallowed. He said, he whispered, that lions pay better than maesters when the prize is fire. Margaery's face went very still. Olenna leaned forward, her cane creaking. Then we have our answer, she said. It isn't Old Town. It's King's Landing with a maester's mask. Jon stared down at the thief, at the sweat shining on his brow. How many of you? Jon demanded. The man's eyes squeezed shut. 2, he whispered. Me and another. He's still in the castle. Ghost's lips peeled back in a silent snarl, as if he understood. Loras rose in one swift motion. Lock the gates, he said, voice snapping into command. No one leaves Highgarden. I want every servant searched, every guard questioned. Margaery's hand tightened on the back of her chair. Quietly, she warned. If we panic the court, we feed the rumor. Loras's eyes flashed. If we whisper, we die, he snapped back. Jon stood, feeling the egg's warmth pulse behind him like an impatient heart. We do both, Jon said. We tighten the castle without showing the fist. Olenna's smile was thin. Welcome to the Reach, she murmured, where even a noose is tied with ribbon. Outside, the first bells of morning rang, bright and innocent. Inside, Highgarden's shadows shifted, and somewhere among its roses, another thief waited with a purse of lion gold and a promise of fire. By midday, Highgarden wore calm like a mask. Margaery moved through the corridors with her head high, greeting ladies and knights as if the night had held nothing more dramatic than an argument over wine. She laughed at the right moments. She touched shoulders with practiced warmth. She listened to petitions about grain and trade routes and marriages that did not matter, because the act of listening mattered. It told the castle that the rose still bloomed, unshaken. Behind the mask, the castle tightened. Ser Loras' men began a quiet sweep. Guards stationed at lesser doors that were usually left to servants. Corridors watched by knights in plain cloaks instead of gleaming armor. Cellar keys were counted and recounted. Stable boys were questioned about strangers. Cooks about missing knives. Laundresses about unfamiliar boots. Jon hated it. Felt like hunting in a small room, the air thick with suspicion. At the wall, enemies came from beyond, obvious in their hunger and cold. Here, enemies wore smiles and carried messages in their sleeves. He found Margaery in the garden court by the fountain, surrounded by ladies in pastel gowns. She was smiling, her eyes bright, her hands graceful as she plucked a rose and offered it to a young girl who stared at her as if she were a saint. Jon waited at the edge, silent. Ghost lay at his feet, head on paws, eyes half-lidded and watchful. When the ladies drifted away, Margaery's smile softened for a heartbeat into something real. They're frightened, she murmured, watching the women's backs. They don't know why yet, but they feel it. Jon's gaze swept the court. A servant paused too long near a column. A guard's eyes followed Margaery's movements too carefully. We won't keep it hidden forever, Jon said. Margaery's mouth tightened. No, she agreed, but we keep it hidden long enough that when it's seen, it cannot be taken. A shadow fell across the stones. Loras approached, his face hard. We found a man, he said quietly. Jon's stomach clenched. Where? In the rookery, Loras said. He posed as a handler. One of the boys swore he'd never seen him before. Margaery's eyes sharpened. Did he send a raven? Loras nodded once. He tried, he said. We caught him with the message half-tied to the bird's leg. Jon's hand went to his sword hilt by instinct. To who? Loras drew a scrap of parchment from inside his glove. He wrote in cipher, he said, but the seal was clear. He held it out. In the wax, pressed into a crude lion, was a second mark. A small glass candle, etched beneath the lion's mane as if hidden. Margaery's breath went tight. "Not the citadel," she whispered. "Someone pretending to be it." Olenna's cane tapped behind them. The old woman approached, her eyes glittering with grim satisfaction. "Of course it's pretending," she said. "The citadel would rather die than admit it wants a dragon. But there are men in Old Town who think themselves wiser than their chains. Men who like to trade secrets for coin while pretending it is scholarship." Jon stared at the seal. "And the message?" he asked. Loras's jaw clenched. "It was short," he said. "Only 3 words. The rose burns soon." Margaery's face went pale. For a heartbeat, Jon saw the fear behind her poise. The fear of fire swallowing everything she loved. Then she inhaled slowly and steadied. "Bring the man to my solar," she said. Quietly,
No spectacle.
Loras hesitated. "You should not," he began. Margaery's gaze snapped to him. "I am Lady of Highgarden," she said, and the words carried the weight of every rose and thorn. "I will look into the eyes of the one who thinks to burn my home." Loras bowed, stiff, and turned away. Jon watched her, admiration and worry twisting together. "You shouldn't do this alone," he said. Margaery's eyes met his, and the mask slipped a fraction. "I am never alone now," she said softly. "Not with you here. Not with what we've woken." A breeze stirred the roses. Petals drifted onto the fountain's surface like blood on water. Jon looked down at Ghost. The direwolf's eyes opened fully, red and alert, as if he sensed the same thing Jon did. Danger was not coming. It was already inside the walls, moving with purpose. Somewhere above, ravens beat their wings against bars. Somewhere below, the egg warmed in its cradle, cracked and dreaming. And somewhere in Highgarden's heart, someone had decided the rose would burn. Samwell Tarly found Jon in the library alcove where the shelves grew narrow and the light dim, as if the books themselves wished to hide. Sam's hands shook as he closed the door behind him. His cheeks were flushed, not with heat but with the kind of fear that made blood race. "Maester Lomas knows," Sam blurted, then clamped his mouth shut as if he had spoken too loudly. Jon's gaze snapped to him. "He knows what?" Jon asked, though he already felt the answer like a weight in his gut.
Sam swallowed.
Not everything," he said quickly. "But he suspects. He asked questions. He warned me about Old Town, about the faith. He said they would come with chains and torches if they thought dragons." Jon's jaw tightened. "Did he send word?" Jon asked. Sam shook his head. "I don't know," he whispered. He carried a locked chest of scrolls near the rookery. He looked like a man deciding whether to be loyal or clever. Jon's mind flashed to the thief's words. Old Town. The chain. Lying gold. Masks. He paced the narrow space between shelves, boots muffled on rugs. In the watch, problems were solved with steel or fire. Here problems slipped away into ink and whispers and ravens. "What did he say?" Jon asked, forcing himself to be still. Sam's fingers twisted together. "He said Highgarden is full of snakes," Sam whispered. "And he said the citadel would come with questions first. He was warning me, I think. But warning is sometimes a way of telling you you've been seen." Jon exhaled slowly. "If the citadel learns," Jon said, "they'll want it." Sam nodded, eyes wide. "Or destroy it," he whispered. "Some in Old Town think dragons are the doom of men. Some would burn it just to be sure." Jon's chest tightened. He imagined the egg in flame, imagined the crack widening into ash. He felt something like rage stir, hot and sudden, unfamiliar in its intensity. "We can't kill every maester," Jon said, more to himself than to Sam.
Sam flinched.
"No," he said quickly. "No, but Jon, there are ways. Maesters love being honored. They love being given tasks. If Lady Olenna sends him away with a letter, with a purpose, to keep him busy," Jon finished.
Sam nodded eagerly.
"Yes," he said. "Yes, or if she gives him a story to believe something plausible, something that satisfies his need to feel wise. Jon's gaze drifted to the shelves around them. Books packed tight like soldiers. Here knowledge was power, and power was never neutral. "He's Highgarden's maester," Jon said. "We can't simply banish him without questions." Sam licked his lips. "Then make the questions about something else," Sam said, voice urgent. "Give him a trail that leads away. A relic, like Lady Olenna said. Make him think it's a metalwork. Valyrian steel. Something that could explain the heat and the secrecy without the egg." Jon's thoughts turned. Valyrian steel. The forge. Heat. A story shaped like truth but missing its heart. "Longclaw," Sam added suddenly, eyes flicking to the sword at Jon's hip. "It's Valyrian steel. People would believe you're studying it, restoring it, asking Old Town for records of its making." Jon looked down at the pale rippled blade, at the dark pommel shaped like a direwolf's head. Longclaw was Mormont steel, not Tyrell relic, but the world would not care. The world saw Valyrian and imagined Dragonfire. "It could work," Jon said slowly. Sam's relief was immediate, flooding his face. "We have to be careful," Sam whispered. "If Maester Lomas thinks he's being tricked, he might act faster." Jon placed a hand on Sam's shoulder, steadying him. "You did well," Jon said. "You told me." Sam's eyes shone. "I don't want," he began, voice trembling. "I don't want you to die because of a secret you never asked for." Jon's throat tightened. "Neither do I," Jon said, and it was the closest thing to a promise he could offer. They left the alcove together and moved through the library's quiet aisles. Jon could feel eyes on him even there, imagined or real. The castle was a living thing, full of watchers. When they reached the corridor, they found Olenna waiting. Cane planted, expression impatient. "There you are," she snapped. "I've been looking for you like a lost needle in a haystack of books." Jon bowed his head slightly. "Maester Lomas suspects," Jon said without preamble. Olenna's eyes narrowed. "Of course he does," she said. "Maesters suspect everything. It's the only way they feel important." "He may send word," Jon said. Olenna sniffed. "Then we give him a better word to send," she said. "Come. We will dress our lie properly and send it out with perfume so it doesn't stink." Sam swallowed, watching her as if she were a general. Olenna jabbed her cane toward Jon's sword. "And you," she added, eyes gleaming. "Bring your pretty Valyrian blade. If we're to deceive a maester, we might as well use steel that makes them drool." Jon's grip tightened on Longclaw's hilt. The blade felt heavier than usual, as if it too had begun to understand the game they were playing. In the depths of Highgarden, fire warmed in secret. Above, ravens waited to carry truth or lies across the realm. And in Old Town, perhaps, men in chains listened for whispers of dragons in rose-scented halls. That evening, Olenna Tyrell hosted a supper so ordinary it felt like an insult. She invited Maester Lomas, 3 minor lords who liked to gossip, and 2 merchants whose purses were deep enough to be useful but not deep enough to make them dangerous. The food was simple: roasted chicken, cheese, bread, watered wine. No singers, no spectacle, just conversation. Margaery played her part with effortless grace. She laughed lightly when Lord Fossaway told a dull story about a horse. She spoke of harvest stores and trade roads, keeping the talk fixed on grain and coin. Jon sat beside her, his expression as unreadable as he could manage, his hand resting near Longclaw's hilt as if it were nothing more than habit. Maester Lomas arrived with the careful posture of a man entering a room where he might be tested. His chain glinted in candlelight, each link a different metal, each a silent claim to knowledge. He bowed to Olenna, to Margaery, then glanced, just once, at Jon's sword. Olenna noticed, of course. Olenna noticed everything. "Maester," Olenna said, voice bright, "I have been thinking about dragons." The room froze. Margaery's smile held, but Jon felt her fingers tighten beneath the table. Samwell Tarly, seated near the wall as a quiet scribe, nearly choked on his wine. Maester Lomas blinked. "My lady," he began cautiously. "Dragons are dead," Olenna interrupted. Yes, we all know. But men cannot stop talking about dead things. Can they? They make them grander in their graves." A merchant laughed uncertainly. One of the lords shifted, unsettled. Olenna waved her cane in a dismissive arc. "Do not look so pale," she snapped. "I am old. I can speak of dragons if I wish. I was simply wondering, since my new lord consort drags his Valyrian blade about like a badge, what do the books say about Valyrian steel's making? Heat, yes? Fire? Is it true it was forged with dragon flame?" Maester Lomas's shoulders eased by a fraction. He understood, then, that this was the story offered to him. He looked relieved to have a plausible mystery to solve. "Some accounts claim so," Maester Lomas said carefully, "though the truth is elusive." Jon lifted Longclaw slightly, letting candlelight catch the rippled pale steel. "I want to know where it came from," Jon said, voice steady. "Gior Mormont gave it to me. He said it was old. He did not know its full history." Maester Lomas leaned forward, interest lighting his eyes despite himself. "A noble curiosity," he said. "Valyrian steel is rare. If it could be traced, it could be honored," Margaery finished smoothly, "and displayed, perhaps even used to strengthen the Reach's reputation. People love relics. They believe relics make them safer." One of the lords nodded, eager. "Aye," he said. "A sword with a story." Olenna smiled, satisfied. "Exactly," she said. "So we will restore the hilt," she added, as if the idea had only just occurred to her. "Perhaps add something fitting. Roses for Highgarden, wolves for the north. A symbol of unity. And we will need heat for the work and old texts, and perhaps even a letter to Old Town." Maester Lomas nodded slowly. The trap was being baited with scholarship. "I can write," Maester Lomas offered. "There are records in the Citadel's vaults." "Wonderful," Olenna said, voice sugary. "You will write at once. Tonight, a careful letter, begging the Citadel to share its wisdom with a foolish old woman who wishes to see a pretty sword made prettier." The merchants laughed, relieved the talk was of steel and vanity, not of beasts that could burn cities. Jon kept his face still. Inside, he felt the lie settle into place like a stone dropped into water. It would ripple, it would draw attention, but perhaps it would draw it away from the egg. After supper, Maester Lomas lingered near the table, studying Longclaw with hungry eyes. He ran a finger along the blade's edge without touching it, as if stroking the air. "Valyrian steel holds memory," he murmured. "It remembers fire." Jon's skin prickled. "Does it?" Jon asked, forcing lightness. Maester Lomas's gaze flicked up, sharp again. "Everything remembers," he said quietly. "Some things simply remember louder." He bowed to Margaery. "A fine match you have made," he said. "A wolf with a blade of dragon lords. The singers will like it." Margaery's smile remained sweet. "Let them sing," she said. When the maester finally left, Olenna's shoulders dropped a fraction, as if she had been holding a weight on them all evening.
Some exhaled shakily.
"Will he believe it?" he whispered. Olenna sniffed. "He will believe what flatters his chain," she said. "And if he does not, he will at least hesitate, because no maester likes to be wrong in writing." Jon's gaze drifted toward the corridor that led to Margaery's chambers, toward the hidden warmth waiting in a cradle. "Now," Olenna said, eyes gleaming, "we set our second trap. We tell the court we are moving the heirloom to the old forge for restoration. And we see who follows the story." Margaery nodded once, eyes cold. "Let the snakes come," she murmured. Outside, Highgarden's fountains sang. Inside, lies were being dressed in silk, ready to walk into the world. And somewhere in the dark, men who wanted fire listened for the sound of its first breath. The poison came in honey. It was discovered not because someone was clever, but because Ghost was. The morning after Olenna's supper, a servant girl arrived with a small dish of bread drizzled in golden honey, "A sweet from the kitchens," she said, cheeks pink with nervous pride. The tray trembled in her hands as she offered it to Margaery in her solar. Margaery smiled kindly because that was what she did. "Thank you," she said, reaching for it. Ghost, lying near the hearth, lifted his head. His ears pricked forward, his lips curled. A low growl rumbled from his chest, deep enough to make the girl freeze. Jon, seated at the table with a map spread before him, looked up sharply. "Ghost," he warned, thinking the wolf simply disliked the girl's scent. Ghost's growl deepened. He rose, silent, and padded toward the tray, nose twitching. He did not bare his teeth at the girl. He stared at the honeyed bread as if it were a snake. Then he snapped. His jaws closed on the edge of the tray, tipping it. The dish clattered to the floor. Honey splashed onto stone. The bread rolled, glistening. The servant girl let out a small squeal and stumbled back, eyes wide with terror. I didn't," she stammered. Margaery rose, face tightening. "No one touches it," she ordered, and her voice could have frozen water. Jon crouched, sniffing the air. He smelled honey, yes, sweet and warm, but beneath it was something bitter, sharp, like crushed leaves. Samwell Tarly appeared in the doorway, drawn by the noise. He saw the dish on the floor and went pale. "What happened?" he whispered. Ghost's nose hovered over the bread. He sneezed and recoiled, hackles lifting. Jon's stomach knotted. He looked at the girl. "Where did you get it?" he demanded. Her eyes filled with tears. "The kitchens," she sobbed. "Cook Hobb said Lady Margaery likes honey bread. He said it was from the new hive." Olenna Tyrell swept into the solar like a storm contained in bones. She took one look at the dish and made a sound of disgust. "Of course," she snapped. "Of course they'd try sweetness. It's always sweetness that kills you in the reach." Loras arrived a heartbeat later, drawn by the commotion, his hand on his sword. His gaze flicked to the bread, to Ghost's posture, and his face hardened. "Take the girl," Loras said to a guard in the corridor. "Gently," he added, seeing her terror. "And find Cook Hobb." The guard ushered the sobbing girl away. Margaery watched her go, jaw clenched. "She didn't know," Margaery said. "No," Olenna agreed. "That's why they used her. Innocence is an excellent disguise." Sam knelt beside the dish, eyes wide and fearful as he dipped a finger into the honey, then stopped himself, remembering how quickly poison worked. He pulled a small vial from his pouch instead, one he had used at the wall for testing spoiled meat. He scraped a smear of honey into it and corked it. "I can take it to Maester Lomas," Sam whispered. "He can test it." Olenna's eyes sharpened. "And then he will ask why," she said. "And then he will write letters." "No." Jon stared at the honeyed bread, anger rising like heat. "Someone is getting closer," he said. Margaery's gaze was icy. "Someone is in my kitchens," she said. Loras's voice was tight. "I will skin them," he said, and he did not sound like a man speaking metaphor. Margaery's eyes flashed. "You will not," she said sharply. "Not unless you want every servant in Highgarden to whisper that we murder our own. We need them loyal. We need them calm." Loras clenched his jaw, breathing hard through his nose. He looked away, swallowing fury. Olenna leaned on her cane, studying the bread as if it were a puzzle. "Honey," she murmured. "Warm, golden, a symbol of home." Jon's mind flashed to the eggs cradled by the hearth, the warmth they fed it, the honeyed scent that had drifted in. This poison had not been meant for Margaery alone. It was meant to kill the wolf, Jon realized aloud. Margaery's eyes widened a fraction. "Ghost," she whispered. Olenna's gaze snapped to Jon. "Or to make him sick," she said. "A sick wolf is quieter, easier to move past." Jon's hand went to Ghost's neck, fingers sinking into thick fur. The dire wolf leaned into the touch, steady and warm, unaware of how close poison had come to his blood. Loras returned later with news and a pale-faced cook in chains. Cook Hob swore and wept and insisted he had simply followed orders. Someone had delivered a small pouch of powder and told him it was a spice from Old Town, a gift for Lady Margaery's table. He had not questioned. He had been flattered to be included in noble affairs. Olenna listened, eyes cold. When he finished sobbing, she tapped her cane once. "Men will always sell their honor for praise," she said softly. "It's cheaper than coin." Margaery looked at Jon. "They're testing us," she said, "seeing how we react, seeing how much we tighten." Jon nodded slowly. "Then we tighten without showing where," he said. That night they moved the egg. Not to the forge, not to the chambers, to the maze, deep in the hidden hollow where lantern light could be shuttered and hedges swallowed sound. They carried it wrapped in wool, guarded by ghost and steel, and they left a decoy cradle by the hearth in case someone returned. Highgarden slept, unaware of the silent procession threading through its gardens. In the maze's dark heart, the egg warmed beneath Jon's palms, and the crack across its shell widened another hair's breadth, as if it liked the taste of danger. The egg began to make sounds. They were not the grand roars of song. They were small, strange noises, soft clicks like a nail tapping on wood, faint scrapes as if something inside shifted against shell. They came in the quietest moments, when lantern flames burned low and even ghosts' breathing was slow. Jon sat in the maze's hidden hollow with the egg cradled in wool on his lap, the night air cool against his face. Above them, hedges rose tall and black. Lantern light painted Margaery's features in gold and shadow, turning her eyes into deep pools. Ryllon knelt opposite them, his scarlet robe dulled by darkness. He watched the egg with the stillness of a man listening for a distant bell. "Do you hear it?" Margaery whispered. Jon nodded. The shell clicked again, soft, deliberate. "It's turning," Ryllon murmured. "It is preparing." Olenna, wrapped in a dark cloak, stood at the edge of the hollow, cane planted. She did not kneel. Olenna did not kneel for fire or gods, but Jon could see the tension in her shoulders, the tightness of her mouth. Even she was waiting. Jon laid his palm on the shell. Heat surged into him like a held breath released. The egg pulsed beneath his skin, slow and heavy, like a heart trying to remember how to beat. Margaery reached out and pressed her hand beside his. The shell warmed for her too, though not as strongly. Jon felt the difference in the way the heat leaned into him, answering him like a name spoken. Her eyes flicked to his face. "It wants you," she whispered, and there was wonder and worry in the same breath. Jon swallowed. "If it hatches," he said quietly, "it will be mine. And ours," Margaery corrected, fierce. Ryllon's gaze lifted to Jon. "Do not pretend ownership is simple," he said softly. "Dragons are not horses. They do not accept reins. They accept recognition." Olenna snorted. "Recognition," she echoed. "A pretty word for fear." Ryllon smiled faintly. "Fear is honest," he said. "Better honest fear than dishonest pride." The egg clicked again, louder. A thin flake of shell fell away from the crack and landed on the wool with a whisper-like sound. Margaery's breath caught. "It's not yet," Ryllon cautioned. "Do not rush. Do not pry. Let it come in its own time." Jon's fingers curled around the egg, protective. He could feel movement now, faint and slow, like a creature stretching after long sleep. A sudden sharp sound cut the night. A distant shout from the castle walls. All four of them froze. Ghost's head lifted, ears pricked. His growl started low, vibrating through his chest. Jon's heart slammed once. "They've found something," he whispered. Margaery's face hardened. "Or they've made noise to draw us out," she said. Olenna's eyes glittered. "Either way," she murmured, "we are not the only ones awake." They did not return to the castle immediately, not with the egg in their arms. Jon and Margaery carried it deeper into the maze, into a tighter corridor of hedges where lantern light could be hidden. Loras men, posted at discrete points, would see and respond if the shout meant attack. If it meant nothing, then it was simply the castle settling. They waited. Minutes passed like stretched wire. The shout did not come again.
No horn sounded. No alarm bells rang.
Slowly, Jon's breathing eased. The egg clicked once more, as if impatient with their fear. A thin line of red-orange glow appeared beneath the crack, not bright but unmistakable, like the ember of a coal when ash is brushed away. Margaery's eyes filled with tears she did not shed. "It's alive," she whispered again, as if she needed to keep saying it until her mind believed. Jon felt his throat tighten. "Yes," he said, voice rough. "It is." Ryllon's hands lifted, palms up. He began to murmur a prayer, words soft and rolling like flames language. Jon did not understand them, but his blood did. He felt it in his bones, in the way the egg's heat surged in time with the priest's cadence. Olenna watched, mouth tight. "If this burns Highgarden," she whispered, not to anyone in particular, "I will haunt you all." Margaery's lips twitched despite everything. "You already do," she whispered back. The crack widened another fraction. Another flake fell. The glow beneath brightened, then dimmed, like a breath taken and held. Jon pressed his forehead briefly to the shell, feeling heat against his skin, feeling the pulse like a promise. Somewhere inside, something small and hungry was learning the shape of the world it was about to enter. And somewhere beyond the hedges, men who feared fire moved through the castle's sleeping halls, listening for the first sound of wings. Lord Randyll Tarly arrived with rain on his cloak and judgment in his eyes. Highgarden skies had turned gray, heavy with moisture, and the gardens drank the first real rain of the season like thirsty mouths. When the Tarly banners appeared at the gates, red huntsmen on green, courtiers murmured and servants ran, because Randyll Tarly was not a man one kept waiting. Jon met him in the great hall alongside Margaery and Olenna, with Loras stiff as a blade at Margaery's shoulder. Ghost lay at Jon's feet, head lifted, watching the newcomers. Randyll Tarly strode forward like a man entering a battlefield rather than a hall of roses. His armor was plain but well kept, his sword worn at the hilt, his face carved from stern stone. He bowed to Margaery with correct respect, then looked at Jon as if measuring a horse. "Jon Stark," Randyll said, not quite question, not quite accusation. "Lord Tarly," Jon replied. Randyll's gaze flicked to Ghost, then back. "A wolf in Highgarden," he said. "The world grows stranger." Olenna smiled thinly. "It grows honest," she said. "Strangeness is simply truth that hasn't been invited to dinner before." Randyll ignored her wit, his eyes fixed on Margaery. "The Iron Throne is displeased," he said bluntly. "They will march. They will choke the Reach's roads. They will demand hostages. They will punish." Margaery's posture was poised, but Jon saw the tension in her neck. "The Iron Throne has no right to demand my hand after I've wed," she said calmly. Randyll's mouth tightened. "Rights mean little when lions have claws," he said. "I came because my men are asking questions. They hear whispers. They smell panic." Olenna's cane tapped. "If your men smell panic, perhaps you should wash them," she snapped. Randyll's eyes flashed toward Olenna. "If your house keeps poking lions, my men will be the ones burned," he said. "Not yours alone." Jon felt anger stir. "Your men will be burned if you let them be used as kindling," Jon said evenly. Randyll's gaze snapped to him. "And you," he said, voice low, "you speak as if you are already a lord. Perhaps you have forgotten your place." Jon stepped forward half a pace, meeting the older man's eyes. "My place," Jon said, "is beside my wife, and beside the realm if it is to survive." Randyll studied him in silence. Then, unexpectedly, he gave a short nod. "Good," he said. "At least you're not a silk-wrapped fool." Margaery's eyes narrowed slightly. "What do you want, Lord Tarly?" she asked. Randyll's jaw worked. "I want to know your plan," he said, "because defying King's Landing without a plan is suicide. And suicide is not loyalty. It is vanity." Olenna's smile hardened. "Our plan is to live," she said. "It's a simple plan. You should try it." Randyll's gaze returned to Margaery. "If the Lannisters march, will you fight?" he asked. "Will you close your gates and let the Reach burn around you? Or will you kneel and hope they don't notice the blood on your lips?" Margaery held his gaze, unblinking. "We will not kneel," she said softly. "But we will not let the Reach starve either. We will feed our people. We will rally our bannermen. And we will choose our battles." "And your husband's brother?" Randyll asked, the words sharp. "Robb Stark. Will you send grain north while the lions threaten south?" Jon's chest tightened. "Robb, Winterfell, the north bleeding." "Yes," Jon said before Margaery could answer. "We will send grain north, because winter is coming, and the north will not survive on honor alone." Randyll's mouth tightened. "Honor will not stop an army," he said. Jon's eyes were hard. "No," Jon agreed, "but it will decide who stands with you when the army comes." Randyll stared at Jon for a long moment. Then he exhaled slowly, as if admitting something he did not like. "Very well," he said. "I will hold my men ready. I will speak to other lords. But if this goes wrong, if the Reach burns because of your pride, I will not die politely." Margaery's smile was thin. "Nor will we," she said. Randyll bowed once, stiff. As he turned away, his gaze flicked again toward Ghost, then toward Jon's sword. "Valyrian steel," he muttered almost to himself. "Stories grow teeth." Jon watched him go, feeling the pressure of decisions tightening around them. The Reach was not united by roses alone. It was bound by fear, by hunger, by the promise of protection. And somewhere in the maze, a cracked egg warmed like a coal, preparing to give that promise a sharper edge. The raven from Riverrun arrived at dusk, wet from rain and shivering as if it had flown through winter rather than summer. Sam brought it to Jon with hands still stained with ink. "It's from Lady Catelyn," he whispered, voice tight. "The seal is stark." Jon's stomach clenched as he broke the wax. He read quickly, eyes scanning the rough script. "The war turns. The lions have gathered strength. The Riverlords waver. Your brother fights with all he has, but the south is a nest of vipers. We hear whispers of the Reach stirring. We pray your marriage was not made in vain. Grain is needed. Men are needed. And you are needed if you can be." The letter did not mention the egg, of course. Catelyn Stark would not write such things. But Jon could feel the desperate undertone, the sense of a mother writing to a son she did not love, begging him anyway because the world demanded it. He read the letter twice, then folded it slowly. Margaery sat across from him in the solar, candlelight soft on her face. Olenna stood by the window watching rain streak down glass. Loras leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, listening without appearing to. Jon placed the letter on the table. "Robb needs grain," he said. "He needs men." Olenna's mouth tightened. "Of course he does," she said. "War eats everything. It is never satisfied." Margaery's eyes softened. "We can send grain," she said. "We have stores. We have routes." "Routes the lions can cut," Loras said sharply. Jon's gaze snapped to him. "If we don't send," Jon said, "the north starves. And if the north falls, the realm's spine breaks. No amount of Reach grain will matter if the wall becomes a rumor." Olenna's eyes narrowed. "You speak of the wall as if it is a living thing," she said. "It is," Jon replied. "It's the only reason any of this matters." Margaery's fingers tightened on the table edge. "If we send grain," she said, "we commit fully. The Iron Throne will call it treason." Olenna snorted. "They already do," she said. "They simply haven't found a word sharper than treason yet." Loras pushed off the doorframe, frustration flashing. "If we send wagons north," he said, "we expose them. We expose our roads. We invite ambush." Jon stared at him. "Then we escort them," Jon said. "With what?" Loras snapped. "With knights we need here? With men who will be cut down on river roads." Margaery raised a hand, silencing him. "We escort them with cunning," she said. "We split the caravans. We send some by river, some by road. We use merchant banners as cover. We make it costlier to raid than to ignore. Olenna's smile was faint and pleased. That's my girl, she murmured. Jon's gaze drifted, unbidden, to the hidden place in the maze where the egg warmed. He felt the heat in his memory, the pulse beneath shell. And when the lions come anyway? Jon asked quietly. Margaery met his eyes. Then we fight, she said, voice low. Loras's jaw clenched. With what? He demanded again. Margaery's gaze flicked, just once, toward the hearth as if she could see through walls to the secret beyond. With everything we have, she said. Olenna's cane tapped once. Including what we have not yet hatched, she murmured. Silence fell. Jon's throat tightened. The egg was not a weapon yet. It was a fragile, cracked promise. But promises had power too, especially when men believed in them. We cannot count on it, Jon said, voice firm. Not yet. Not ever, if it chooses otherwise. Margaery nodded once. No, she agreed. We do not count on it. We prepare without it. And if it comes, then it comes. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, deep and slow. Jon looked down at Catelyn's letter again. He could almost see her face behind the words. Stern, weary, pleading in a way she would never allow herself to show aloud. I will write back, Jon said quietly. Tell her grain is coming. Tell her Robb is not alone. Margaery's hand reached across the table and rested over his for a heartbeat, warm and steady. He isn't, she said. Olenna watched them, eyes sharp and thoughtful. Send your ravens, she said. Send your wagons, and sharpen your thorns. Because war was rolling toward Highgarden like a storm over the Mander, and storms did not care about vows or roses. In the maze, beneath wet leaves and dark hedges, the egg clicked softly, as if counting down the moments until the world learned what had been hidden. Ryllon returned with ash on his fingertips and a look in his eyes Jon did not like. They met again in the maze at night. Lanterns shuddered, rain dripping from leaves above. The egg sat between Jon and Margaery on a bed of wool, its crack now wide enough that Jon could see a faint, glossy membrane beneath shell, wet as a newborn's skin. Ryllon knelt and stared at it as if staring into a fire that showed him futures. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft. It is close, he said. Margaery's breath caught. Tonight, she whispered. Ryllon's gaze lifted to Jon. Soon, he said, but not only by time. Fire opens when truth opens. Jon's stomach tightened. Truth, Jon repeated. Ryllon nodded, slow. You have fed it heat. You have fed it blood. You have fed it fear. But there is one hunger fire always has. His eyes glinted in lantern light. It hungers for names. Olenna stood behind them, cane planted in mud. We are not naming it before it hatches, she snapped. That is how you invite bad luck. Ryllon's lips curved faintly. Not the creature's name, he said. Yours. Jon felt cold spread beneath his ribs despite the egg's warmth. My name is Jon, he said. Ryllon's gaze did not flinch. That is what men call you, he said. Not what fire calls you. Margaery's face went still. Her eyes flicked to Jon, searching his expression. Jon's throat worked. He thought of Ned Stark's silence, of the way his father had looked away when questions grew too sharp. He thought of the egg warming for him as if recognizing blood. Olenna's voice was clipped. If you have something to say, priest, say it plainly, she said. Or I'll toss you into the hedges and let the gardeners find your red corpse in the morning. Ryllon bowed his head slightly, conceding. The egg wakes for him, he said, nodding at Jon. Not for you, my lady, not for your house. For him, because his blood remembers the sky. Margaery's hand curled into a fist. Jon's blood is Stark, she said, more fiercely than Jon expected, as if defending him from the implication. Ryllon's eyes softened. He was raised Stark, he said. That is not the same as being only Stark. Jon's heart hammered. The words felt like stepping onto thin ice. Say it, Olenna said, voice sharp as broken glass. Ryllon's gaze held Jon's. Fire is not fooled by bastardy, he said quietly. It does not care what men wrote in ledgers. It cares what is in the marrow. Jon's breath hitched. The night seemed to press closer, hedges leaning in like eavesdroppers. Margaery whispered, "Jon." Jon stared at the egg. The crack glowed faintly. He could feel heat rising from it like breath. He could feel it listening. "What do you want from me?" Jon asked Ryllon, voice rough. Ryllon's answer was simple. "Speak," he said. "Not to me, to it. Speak the truth you have carried in silence." Jon's mouth went dry. What truth? He did not know it. He only knew the shape of the silence around it, the way his life had been built on what was not said. Margaery's hand touched his forearm, gentle. "You don't have to," she whispered, but her eyes were bright with fear and longing. She wanted the egg to hatch. She wanted the power it promised. She wanted Jon whole. Olenna's gaze flicked between them, calculating. "If this is about his parentage," she murmured, "we already suspect enough to be frightened." Jon's throat tightened. "I don't know," he said, and the words hurt. "I don't know who I am beyond what I've been told." Ryllon leaned closer, voice almost tender. "Then speak that," he said. "Speak the hunger. Fire understands hunger." Jon stared at the egg until his eyes blurred. He could hear the distant sound of rain on leaves, the quiet breathing of ghosts somewhere behind, the faint click within shell. He swallowed and let the truth he could speak rise. "I was born as a shadow," Jon said, voice low. "I was raised in a hall that was mine and not mine. I watched my brothers inherit what I was never allowed to touch. I wore a name that told me I was less, and I tried to make peace with it. I swore vows because vows were cleaner than longing." The egg clicked, sharp as if answering. Jon's voice thickened. "I have been told I am a Stark now," he continued, "but I do not feel whole. I feel like a story missing its first page. I feel like something was stolen from me before I could even know I had it." Margaery's eyes glistened. She did not look away. Jon's breath came shakier. "If there is more to my blood," he whispered, "then I want to know it. Not for crowns, not for songs, for truth. Because I am tired of living in someone else's silence." The egg's glow brightened beneath the crack, a slow flare like dawn behind clouds. Ryllon's smile was faint and grim. "There," he murmured. "Now it hears you." Olenna exhaled, long and slow. "If it hatches," she said quietly, "the world will demand that truth from you too." Jon closed his eyes for a heartbeat, feeling the weight of that future. When he opened them, the egg's shell shifted. A thin piece fell away, exposing a wet, dark surface beneath. A faint sound emerged, something between a chirp and a sigh. Margaery's hand flew to her mouth, tears finally spilling. Jon's heart thundered. In the rain-soaked maze of Highgarden, truth had been spoken aloud, and fire, patient, hungry fire, leaned closer to the world. The hatchling came into the world like a whispered threat. It was not a roar that broke the shell. It was a soft tearing sound, wet and intimate, like cloth ripping. The crack widened under Jon's hands as he held the egg steady, his fingers trembling despite himself. Shell flakes fell onto the wool, each one a tiny piece of history breaking away. Margaery knelt beside him, her breath held, her eyes wide and shining in lantern light. Olenna stood behind, cane clenched so hard her knuckles were white. Ryllon murmured a prayer that sounded like flame licking stone. Jon felt heat surge, not painful but fierce. The egg pulsed once, hard, then the shell split wider and something inside pushed. A small head emerged, slick with fluid, scales dark as wet coals streaked with veins of deep red that caught the lantern glow like embers. The creature's eyes were shut at first, lids thin as parchment. Its snout was narrow, the mouth edged with tiny teeth too sharp for something so small. It made a sound, a faint rasping chirr, and Jon's entire body went still. The hatchling trembled, exhausted by the act of becoming. It lay half in shell, half in wool, wings folded tight against its sides like dark leaves. The wings were not large, not yet, but the membrane between the bones glistened, red-black like stained glass. Margaery let out a broken laugh that was half-sob. "Oh," she whispered, voice cracking. "Oh gods." Olenna's face went slack with something Jon had never seen on her. Raw awe. She swallowed hard and forced herself back into sharpness. "Keep your voice down," she hissed, but even her hiss trembled. Ryllon bowed his head, eyes shining. "Fire is returned," he murmured. Jon stared at the hatchling, unable to move. It was beautiful and terrible, small enough to fit in his hands, yet carrying the weight of Valyria's memory. He felt it in his blood, a pull like gravity. Slowly, carefully, he reached out. The hatchling's head turned, blind, sniffing the air. It made a small clicking sound with its tongue, tasting smoke and rain and human skin. When Jon's fingers brushed its scales, it stilled. A shiver ran through Jon's bones, as if something inside him recognized the contact. The hatchling's eyes opened. They were not blue, not green, not brown. They were molten gold, bright and unsettling, as if someone had poured a coin's worth of sunlight into each socket. The pupils narrowed to thin slits in an instant, and the creature focused. Not on Margaery, not on Olenna, not on Ryllon. On Jon. Jon's breath caught. The world narrowed to those eyes. The hatchling made a sound. Sharper now, a demanding chirr, and then, impossibly, it crawled toward Jon's hand, clumsy and urgent. Its tiny claws snagged the wool. It dragged itself forward until it pressed its wet snout against Jon's palm. Heat flared. Jon felt it like a brand, not burning skin but burning something deeper, as if the creature pressed a mark into his blood. Margaery's hand covered her mouth again, tears spilling freely. She was smiling through them, fierce and frightened and proud. "It chose you," she whispered, as if she were speaking a prayer and a curse at once. Jon could not speak. His throat was too tight. Olenna exhaled, sharp. "Of course it did," she whispered, "because the world is never kind enough to make this simple." The hatchling blinked once, slowly, then opened its mouth. A tiny breath of smoke puffed out, thin, gray, curling into the rain-cooled air. It was not flame yet, but it carried the scent of it, the promise of it. Ryllon's voice shook with reverence. "Name it," he whispered. "Name's Anchor Fire." Olenna snapped, "Not yet." But Margaery leaned closer, eyes fixed on the hatchling as if she could not look away. "It was born here," she whispered, "in Highgarden, in roses and thorns and rain. It should carry that." Jon finally found his voice, rough and quiet. "It should carry strength," he said, "not just beauty."
Margaery's smile was wet.
"Beauty is a kind of strength," she whispered back. The hatchling chirred again, impatient, and pressed its head harder into Jon's palm, as if demanding a decision. Jon swallowed. He looked at Margaery. In her eyes he saw the future: war, crowns, hunger, fire. He saw danger. He saw possibility. He looked down at the creature and felt the bond settle, heavy and undeniable. "Thornfyre," Jon said softly. Margaery's breath hitched. Olenna's eyes widened. Even Ryllon stilled, as if listening to the name's shape. The hatchling blinked, then made a softer sound, almost a purr, and curled its small body closer to Jon's hand, as if the name had given it a place to rest. Outside the maze, rain continued to fall, washing Highgarden's leaves clean. Inside the hidden hollow, a dragon lay in wool and human hands, breathing smoke into the night. Jon Snow, Jon Stark, held the newborn fire and felt the world tilt beneath him, because a dragon was not merely a beast. It was a declaration, and soon, every lion, maester, and king in Westeros would hear it.